the end of the day here, getting to point X is unique and different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, being that the book is based on, that's the title of my book, everything you do throughout your lifetime will eventually affect your ability to get to that point X. But then in the chapter where we cover retirement planning, I go into detail, and I also have a website with a calculator that'll help everyone calculate their own personal point X. So I have a link here on the screen. I'm assuming you'll be able to pull that up on the screen at some point. But my website is pretty easy to get to. It's simply Vento taxandwealth.com. As long as they get to the website, they should easily be able to find this calculator, and that should be no issue at all. Once you click on that financial calculator, which is called Calculate Your Point X, it'll take you to a series of questions. Now, this is not simple math by any means, and it's a type of math that's constantly changing. So it's a lot more than just algebra. We have 12 variables that we look at and that you have to answer to determine what you need to save, what you need to do to get to where you want to be down the road. Okay. So probably the best way I could do this is through an example.
That'd be great.
So I'm going to go through the 12. Yep. I'm going to go through the 12 questions with a hypothetical dental client.
Okay.
And then we're going to see what the outcome could be.
Okay, great. And I can put some of this up on the screen as you're talking as well. And then I can put a link to the calculator in the show notes so people can just click on that link and be able to access the calculator too. So perfect.
So the 12 questions that we ask and you have to then answer is, number one, what is your age? So for the purpose of this example, we're going to assume we have a 35-year-old dentist. The next question is, what is your current income level? We're going to assume that's $200,000. The next question is, are you married? And if so, what does your spouse earn? We're going to assume they have a non-working spouse bringing in no income. Perhaps they're home caring for children. Also, how much money have you saved so far? As of today, how much have you put aside? Here, we're going to assume it's $100,000.
Okay.
Question 5 is, what age do you desire to retire? And there we're going to assume 65 is the goal, to retire by the age of 65.
Okay.
The next question says, how many years of retirement income do you expect you will need? That's just a polite way of saying, what age do you think you're going to die?
Yep.
So we'll assume he or she is going to live to 90. So we're going to assume they need at least 25 years of income throughout their retirement years. The other big thing is, what is the expected inflation rate? Historically, inflation's been around 2%. For the purpose of this example, I'm going to assume it's 3%. And once you go through this exercise, you'll go through what if scenarios for yourself. You'll see if you have a 5% inflation rate, that's going to destroy your whole retirement plan in terms of when you could get to point X. So part of why the Federal Reserve right now is trying to keep inflation low is because you don't want people to get to retirement and realize they can't afford to be there. But again, question number 7 is, what do we expect the average inflation rate to be? We're going to use 3%. And by the way, all of these numbers, you're going to input those numbers directly into the financial calculator, and that'll give you a result. So question 8 is, how much of your current income do you think you're going to need during your retirement years? So the presumption here is your mortgage is now paid off, you're debt free. You followed that part of my book already. So you don't have any unnecessary debt. Also, the kids are out of the house. They're already working. They're not your dependents. So typically in our retirement years, our expenses for the most part go down dramatically. But then we incur new expenses, such as a lot more medical related costs, things of that nature, dental care. Also, we want to factor in the possibility of doing more travel since now you're retired. So for the purpose of this example, I'm going to assume your desire is to have 75% of the income that you were earning while you were working throughout your retirement years. Question 9, and we ask, what do you think your expected rate of return on your investments will be between now and the day you retire? We're using 8% in this example. And then once you're retired, most people at that point need to get a little more conservative with their investments. So we're going to assume a 6% return to glide you through the retirement years without taking any big risk. Question 11 is, do you want us to assume you're going to be collecting Social Security when that time comes? A lot of people are concerned that by the time they're ready to retire, there'll be no Social Security, they'll be bankrupt. Yeah. And, I'm not a believer in that, only because the government, do they make a lot of mistakes? The answer is obviously yes. But when it comes to Social Security, they'll tweak the system. They'll either increase the amount of money they have to collect from those working, maybe reduce benefits. So we're going to assume you will collect Social Security in this example, and we're assuming that's going to be $2,000 per month in Social Security benefits. So once you answer all those questions, you're going to input that, you're going to hit enter, and then it's going to calculate a result for you.
Nice.
So based on those particular facts and assumptions, this particular individual needs to save 13.8% per year throughout their work years, which comes to about $2,300 per month in order to achieve their point X. In this particular example, they're going to need to accumulate $5,211 in retirement investment assets. And again, those are assets that will be generating income for them. That does not include your home, a secondary home, your car. Those are not personal. Those are personal use assets. They don't generate income. So the purpose of this exercise is to let you know, I generally say, rule of thumb, 10% or more of your gross income you have to save. That's just a given. But for some people, especially if you're a little later in life, you're going to need to put away a lot more than that, especially if you haven't done a good job of saving towards retirement. The other thing I want to tell you about this calculator, obviously the result that you get is not final and definite, right? Because life changes. So as time goes on, this is something you're going to analyze at least on an annual basis. What is the current inflation rate? How much I was able to save a little more than I thought, a little less than I thought. But I'll give you a measuring stick so that at least you're on track to eventually get to your point X.